So the 12th episode of Vinland Saga Season 2 sees Thorgil absolutely pop off and decimate King Canute's forces. Now, what we had in the previous episode was ultimately a plan to most likely use Olmar in order to get Ketil's land for themselves, and so they can profit and continue to fund their army. What ended up happening was the play was ultimately to make it look like Olmar did something bad, so fight against the king's forces, duels are forbidden, and basically that's how it would have went down. That is, until Thorgil decided to encourage his brother, and we see a man get a coin to the eye, get stabbed in the neck, and then ultimately Thorgil take care of the rest. He is an absolute unit and gives me Thorgil vibes, hands down. The charisma, just the way he can smile and encourage you to do bloodshed things with a single sword will cut you apart like you're made of paper mache. Between the raw, visceral strength of this man and the overall durability of this sword seemingly, he is a force to be reckoned with. Because Thorgil chases after strength in battles, it's no wonder why he saw through the BS and decided to, no matter what, we're gonna be screwed anyway, pops. So in doing so, he saved both his brother and father and himself, and yes, may have started a war, or at the very least a miniature battle that is now coming to the farm, but in doing so, he gave them a fighting chance to defend off King Canute, and it will be interesting to see where they take it from here. This episode was a surprising bloodbath, but an exciting one nonetheless. Full live reaction to today's wonderful, exciting, brutal episode is available on my Patreon, so if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts, head on over there because they're supporting. Definitely the most exciting episode in terms of pure just raw emotion. What am I seeing? But man, the past 3 to 4 episodes have been peak Vinland week after week. I am really enjoying what they're doing with this season. This episode, yes, it definitely has us excited because it's just an action-packed, just gore-filled mess. But in terms of emotion, it still sticks by with strong character writing. We leave last week with a boy unable to defeat a pig, and the first moments of this episode is pure mockery, and the secondhand embarrassment that last episode gave us, with him just grunting and screaming, it was just cringe nation. And to see him just completely drowning his sorrows in alcohol and shame, to then have these goons who previously, like, there's this man who flicks a coin and takes care of a moth or a butterfly, so I was like, okay, this dude's up to no good for sure, especially given the fact that he was talking with the people who ended up causing the chaos to begin with. But truthfully, I wasn't expecting him to, actually wound a man that he was seemingly working with in order to let him kill, but man, it was embarrassing. And it kind of goes from being like, he kind of deserves the embarrassment given what he did in front of the king and basically almost shamed his father to leave the country. As it kept progressing and you kept seeing more and more of them laughing, you started to feel bad for Olmar. At least I know I did. I was like, okay, there's only so much a boy can take, and I think he's definitely reached that threshold. I think the most insane moment that was probably the funniest was when, so they're just busting out laughing. At one point, he literally draws his sword and they just go, and then they just explode into laughter. The fact that you can draw your sword, their response isn't upset, it's mockery to the fullest extent. I mean, it was pretty insane. I think had the coin flip not happened, most likely Olmar would have gotten killed or at the very least stabbed in a pretty brutal way. I think that's the reason they decided to go with the coin, because he was waiting in the crowd the whole time seeing how it was going to play out. And when it looked like he was about to lose, Olmar that is, he then did the coin so that Olmar's sword attack would go through his throat. So it's interesting just the way they'll go about things. And I think if you look at the very end of this episode, King Canute decides to have a friendly chat with a severed head once again because he's completely sane in his mind. But I love the fact that when you look at the difference between Thorfinn and Canute, like I said in the previous video, both of them are chasing after creating a world, their paradise. Thorfinn wants to do it without having violence and bloodshed, and Canute decides to do whatever it takes in order to get there. Needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. If you have to kill a family member, have to kill a country to save the whole world, clearly King Canute will do that. But when you look at Thorfinn staring off into the sunset, it's a lot more peaceful, it's a lot more hopeful, and it's tranquil. But then you look at King Canute and it feels villainous, ominous, as if he's truly gone off the deep end. And it's really interesting to see the juxtaposition of those two characters, because ultimately their goals align, but their methods are completely different. And with obviously Leif now coming home to see our boy, it'll be very interesting because war is coming to their doorstep. At least 100 people, probably 150, are going to be coming to the farm. Anyone who stands in their way will be cut down. Now, we know Thorgil is literally a one-man army, but seriously, he could probably take care of 50 men by himself. I think that's probably not an exaggeration given what we just got demonstrated. But they are severely outnumbered. If you had someone like Thorfinn also fighting with you, maybe things start to turn the tides a little better in your favor. But this is a boy who I truly feel like is going to be sticking to his guns of no fighting, and if not, it will be very interesting to see what causes him to go back into that mindset, because as it stands, it really feels like we're trying to transition Thorfinn into a voice of peace and reason, and it'll be interesting to see how he'll respond to his long-lost uncle family member who just has been trying so hard and they left off on pretty bad terms. The new Thorfinn will probably be a breath of fresh air if he does get to come into contact with him, which seems very likely. I think the political side of the season has been wonderful. Vinland Saga has always been a political series, but I mean, man, to really see, starting with the slave saga to then getting full thrown into this King Canute conspiracy where he can't even take a drink from his sister without second guessing if someone's trying to poison because he knows he would do it to his sister need be. Just to see where we've ended up by the midway point of season 2, I am so happy we have another core left, that we're going to be entering a brand new anime season starting soon. And the fact that that Vinland Saga greatness is going to continue, I love it. I think the production, it really does show in episodes like these. So the up close and personal and the general character model consistency is very, very solid this season. In terms of the fight, there's moments where like you felt the impact, you felt the oomph when characters were getting punched in the gut, and man, there's times where characters are getting uppercutted and the way the skin would kind of like jiggle and push upwards. It's a lot of these little moments that they might go unnoticed if you're just casually watching the show, but if you really pick apart the animation that they do in this episode, it's actually really impressive, and I honestly think was one of the best produced episodes. Even ignoring like the big, oh, he's cutting apart bodies, no, some of those smaller moments with just the hand-to-hand combat or just these small little facial moments, it really is impressive, I find. Vinland Saga was one of the best anime that has come out with just season 1 alone in the past 10 years. But I think season 2 has took it up a notch. It really is a new style of anime while still feeling like Vinland Saga through and through. And it's so interesting to see characters like Canute or Thorfinn and comparing how they're now on the opposite sides of where they were in season 1, but how they still feel so aligned just like in season 1. It's very interesting to see where they've taken this season, and definitely we knew something was going to pop up on their doorstep, but I just didn't think it would happen so soon or quite like this, but leave it to Canute. He knows how to get his hands dirty and get what he wants, but we'll see if he can manage a victory or if he'll suffer a defeat that will make him even more psycho. Thoughts and feelings yourself down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Also be sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel. And hey, as I mentioned, we do have that full live reaction available on my Patreon. And while you're there, you can also get a video shoutout. So today we have Black Snow, The Gentleman, God Key, and Tech Knight. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.